Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode. Today, I want to tell you the best investing advice that I've ever received, quite frankly. And it's taken me quite a while to figure this out. So, I wanted to share this with you today and share with you a few stories around how this advice has changed multiple people's lives for the better. What I find that's really interesting is in the world of investing, there's so much advice that disagrees with each other. You've got people that are touting diversification, invest in multiple things, dollar cost average, consistently invest, buy index funds and hold forever. You've got people that completely disagree with that. Like, Mark Cuban, he's like, diversification is for idiots. Put all your eggs in one basket. And it can get really confusing. But I think that what I'm about to say agrees with everything that everybody says when it comes to investing. And that advice is invest in what you know and understand. This is why people have gotten rich off stocks. People have gotten rich off software, private equity, land, concrete businesses, you name it. It's because they've invested in something that they understand. They've picked something and dabbled in it for a very, very long time. And what that does is when you gain the experience in a very specific sector or a very specific niche, you start to understand the risks. You understand what's going to go wrong in this particular asset class. And this allows you the opportunity to learn how to not lose money, right? That's famous advice from a lot of the world-class guys like Paul Tudor and Warren Buffett. It's rule number one is don't lose money. What's rule number two? Don't ignore rule number one. And that's really what that is when you gain that experience. So the best advice I've ever received is invest in things that you know and understand. It was interesting. I was on a call the other day with somebody who was retired, and he has most of his portfolio in stocks, and he's in his late 50s, early 60s. Probably shouldn't, but that's what's worked really well for him. He knows and understands that. He's been doing it for over 35 years, and so it's allowed him to invest in something that he's learned over time how to mitigate the risks. And it was kind of funny because one of the questions I asked him on this call when I had asked him, hey, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve with stocks right now? He's like, I just want to achieve a 5 to 7% return and live off that, basically. And I'm like, well, can I ask you a question? Why don't you just go and buy treasuries right now? Because treasuries are pretty much the safest thing you can buy, and I think they're around 5.5% right now, and it's basically a risk-free investment. And he's like, I've got a little bit in treasuries, but most in stocks. And he's done like hardly no real estate ever his entire life whatsoever. It's just 100% stocks. And that's worked out really well for him because he's been doing it for so long. I had a conversation with another guy who owns a software company, and this particular company provides services to accountants. And while I was on this call with him, we were talking about all the past bad investments that he'd made. And he's like, dude, I was investing in Airbnbs up in Missouri. That went south. I lost a bunch of money investing in crypto. And I asked him, what do you think all those things have in common? And he said, honestly, I really didn't know what I was doing. I was investing in things I don't understand. And and literally before I could get to it, he's like, now I only invest in things that I understand. I come from the software world. I worked at a company that bought and sold software companies. I started my own company, doing that for a little while. I now run a software program that services accountants, and I like to invest in my business because when I invest in my business, it provides the highest returns. And I see a lot of business owners make this mistake. They think that they need to go park the money in stocks or bonds or whatever it is, when sometimes the best investment might not be your typical security or your pop culture stock or index fund or a single family rental property or a hard money loan. It might be investing in a person, hiring somebody in your business. Maybe it's paying, $10,000 for coaching from someone who has like bought and sold multiple businesses that you're in, and that 10 grand eventually makes you $500,000 one day and increase profits because you're learning from somebody. So investments don't just have to be in the traditional sense. And I think a lot of business owners miss that opportunity. So it was really interesting hearing from him, this same idea that I've been preaching is invest in what you know. I know somebody who's in the concrete business right now, and I mean they've got some additional cash on the side, and they've been looking kind of where to place it, and they've their business is going really well. It's going phenomenal, but they don't really want to invest in their business. And they were wanting to place money with us, and I was like, dude, your business is going really, really well. You've got room to grow. You can hire people. You can pay for coaches. I was like, you need to put it there. That is where you need to put it because it is by far producing the highest ROI you will ever get investing in anything else. Like invest it there. And they still wanted to invest it. And so we're like, okay, all right, we'll figure something out. But it was really interesting. Even when people are told invest in things that you know and understand the risks in, they still get that excitement to invest in other things. So it's an interesting conversation. There's a reason why we really like land. We understand what the nuances here. I've been doing real estate for, I guess, 7-8 years now. And I understand all of the risks when it comes to land. I've been doing it a while. I'm not new to it. I know that, hey, look, before we buy this thing, we need to contract with a specific result in mind. So removing the risk of buying a bad piece of land. Well, how do you do that? Well, first you need to know what it's going to cost to develop it or what it's currently worth. And is there a way to force appreciate that value? And so we do that through rezoning it and getting more density on there, taking it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 homes to 100 homes. And that shoots up the value significantly. So we can force appreciate the value. And, the next risk is, okay, well, what's it going to cost to develop? And so we get our geotech reports to see how much rock there is. We get an endangered species report to make sure there's not a endangered animal on the property that we can't touch or have to remove. We get a phase 1 environmental done so that we're not buying something that people have been dumping toxic waste on, or there was like oil from some company that's been drenched into the land and it's going to get into the water and stormwater and cause a bunch of issues for the people that live there. You learn to mitigate the risks through working at something for a very, very long time over and over and over and over again. And I think that really is the key to building true wealth. And it could be investing in stocks and index funds as well. It doesn't have to be a business. There's this FIRE movement, and I forget what her name was, but she got really famous. It was this foreign couple. I think they were Asian. They started their own blog, and they're huge fans of dumping half of your paycheck into the VTSAX, Vanguard Low Fee Index Funds. Just consistently invest because they know it works. And I think that's what's missing is people don't spend enough time doing the one thing and taking the hits and the losses to push through and learn, which allows them to eventually make money. People invest in one specific thing, they get burned on it one time, they go, oh, this thing doesn't work, and they give up. They don't push through the learning experience to understand what all those risks are. To understand all those risks, you have to hit them at some point. We've bought bad land deals. I've done bad land deals. I've bought houses that I thought I was going to rehab that I had to tear down. But I knew what the risks were eventually. And so I've made all those mistakes. And so now I don't have to repeat those. And by not repeating those same mistakes, that follows the number one rule, which is don't lose money, capital preservation. When you invest in things that you understand, you know the risks in, that is what allows you to not lose money. And if you're playing the game, if you continue playing the game on a long enough time horizon and you can get really good at not losing money and mitigating the downside when things do go wrong, you will eventually win no matter what. It's eventually going to work out in your favor when you can mitigate those downside opportunities. So whatever it is, there's no right or wrong answer. Pick something that you find really interesting in, something that you find a passion in, something that you can, it has some teeth you can grab on. I got a buddy who got really into cryptocurrency. I think that there's, huge opportunity there. Do I invest in it? No, I don't understand it, but pick something and just keep pushing through on that one thing till you build an expert level of understanding. And I promise you, this is what it's going to allow you to make money. We'll see you on the next episode.